to PODCAD. Today, we are all joined, don't change your picture, because we're all joined in 24 frames a second. Except for myself, I'm in 16 frames.
Yes.
And reason for that is because we today have an illustrator of the OCAD University department.
Yes.
And a very talented animator at that. Please welcome Olivia Wileyman to the show here for our season opener.
Yeah.
How you guys feeling? You know.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
It's good. I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
It's good to be back. You know.
Yes.
So, why did Zendaya like your post?
Oh,
What?
whoa, you guys did a deep dive. Oh my God. Why did she like it? I don't know. Maybe because it was like kind of awesome. No, I mean, that was an animation I did in high school. That was like a really exciting moment for me. It was like, I thought I couldn't go past there. I was like really a high note for me, but it was a rotoscope I did of her.
And now you're on PODCAD.
I
so
know. Look at
that.
me
You've
now,
really,
guys.
really blown up.
Yeah.
So you've been animating since high school.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if we're being technical, I've kind of been animating since like before high school, like in middle school, even in elementary. I used to
No
do these
way.
little like stop motions of like,
Yeah.
I mean, they were like really bad, but it was like me in my room, and I would get my little dolls and things and do like little like 30-second stories and things.
cool.
But yeah, no, in high school I kind of got more into it. I learned what rotoscoping is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. I mean, it's not easier, but because it's very time consuming, but it definitely like kind of can get you going because it usually looks good after. So it's like an instant like satisfaction. But yeah, I started doing rotoscoping in high school, and then then I guess once I came here, that's when I started doing it more like professionally.
So I know that you're in the illustration program. Why did you choose illustration over, say, more so the experimental animation?
Yeah, honestly, I think about that a lot now. I'm like, maybe I should have done animation. But initially, it was because I hadn't done much. I had done animation in high school, but not to a point where I felt like it was something that I was like really good at, and I wasn't super confident about it yet. And drawing is like the one thing that everyone's like, oh, like Olivia's good at drawing. So that was my reason for going into it. Also, and I still stand by this, I wanted to be like a concept artist.
Okay.
When I was in high school, either that or an animator. So that was kind of why I was like, well, if I don't do animation, I'll do concept art. And I still want to do concept art. So that was kind of what got me into illustration.
Have you ever considered a minor?
I have.
Animation?
I have definitely thought about that. I like
Then you'd have to spend more time at OCAD.
That was my thing, is that I'm like, should I just like finish this? That's really my main thing right now, is that I was actually looking into taking a minor in animation really recently, but I think the date actually passed. I think it's a little too late for that now. But
Well, yes and no. I mean, you can declare the minor at any time. It's just
can
about
you?
it's self-declared. You just have to finish it before you put your intent to graduate.
Yeah, Lakin's the expert on minors.
I've done 3 now.
You've
so-
done 3?
Okay.
Whoa.
I've done 3, finished 1.
Okay.
But that's
Okay.
that's kind of like, I was in one and then it got canceled. Like
What
but
was
Which
it?
one was that?
that was the art in public spaces. They just straight up like I did like
It's like no
all
one's
the
doing this no more.
I did all like I did like 2 or 3 classes for it, and then I only needed like the 2 core classes, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh no, those don't exist. We got rid of them, and I was like,
So
That sucks.
do you have it? Do you have like...
no, I undeclared it.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, you still got the
tough luck.
credits though, like for the...
You got the credit.
Yeah, as,
And you learned
as
something.
electives. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't take the minors at OCAD. That's what I learned. But yeah, back to
Weren't you the one
illustration.
that suggested?
Okay. Don't
Speaking for...
180 here.
Sorry, my fault. I mean, I know that the experimental one is like brand new because it like just was like it's like a year or 2 old. So
Yeah, that was another thing, is that I actually, when I was deciding where to go to university, I have neighbors who worked at OCAD, and I was asking them what
At
program.
OCA?
Yeah, at OCA, I guess. Yeah.
Nice.
And so I was asking them what program they thought was like really like good, and I told them I wanted to do experimental animation, and they were like, well, it's like a new program, we're not sure. I mean, they said like any program would be great, but I just remember they were like, yeah, no, illustration's like they know what they're doing, and so I think that is kind of also what pushed me towards that.
But, I think
do they know what they're doing, Mark?
I think like if you ask someone who went to like OCA, like there was only like 2 programs back then, so you know, it's like
And,
illustration and
six
like
people,
drawing
yeah.
and painting. You
Guys,
know?
my mom actually went.
Oh,
Really?
What
Yeah.
did she take?
Yeah.
She took. I don't even know what it was. It was like because there's
Because
only
there's only 2
yeah, I was gonna say,
programs.
like,
There's
you
only
could-
2
Graphic
programs.
design.
you
Yeah,
know?
I think it was like material art and design. She did jewelry and
painting.
like
Well, I mean,
painting.
when it was OCA, they didn't even have the Rosalie Sharp Center for Design yet.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't built till
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
My dad helped
Called
build
you
that.
art.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's so
he's
cool.
He's a labor man. So it was
Oh,
part of
okay.
the project. Yeah.
Super
Right.
cool.
It's a great thing that they call it the School of Art and Design instead of Art and Crafts. You know, could have really hurt the academic reputation. But OCAD, correct me if I'm wrong, but you also went to York.
I didn't go to York, no.
But you applied.
But I did apply to York. Yeah,
Okay,
I
for
had
theater.
for theater. Yes, I had a theater dream. I mean, I still secretly have that dream a little bit, but yeah, no. In high school, because I was a theater kid. I did the school plays and everything. Yeah, and I really wanted to do like acting on stage, so I did apply to York for theater, and I was gonna go. Like, it was really not until like pretty close to when school
Yeah.
was starting that I decided I was gonna go to OCAD. I don't really know like what the main thing was. I think that I was scared to go into theater because I was like, that's
Was
not
it like
very
a
reliable.
musical audition? Like it was in
So
musical theater?
you could choose, because their program, like when you first enter it, you either choose to do acting or you choose to do like behind the scenes. So like stage production, costumes, all that kind of stuff. And even if you audition in terms of like costuming and sets and stuff like that, you can still later go into acting. And so because I'm like confident in drawing, my audition was for sets. And but then my intention was to go and like do acting after that. But no, I saw a lot of musical auditions. It was such a stressful application. Yeah.
I remember I had to help someone when I was in high school.
Oh, really?
To apply for York for I think like a musical theater type of thing.
Yeah.
And the requirement was you need a live musician with you. to sing. So it's just like it's
What?
just like
One-man
Like
band.
I had no
my God.
intention of going to York or anything, and it's just like just owe this person a favor. So
my God. What
I
song
had to
did you
learn.
learn? Yeah.
Fuck that Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga movie
Oh,
like
Shallow?
came out. Yeah, Shallow.
Yeah. Thanks.
That was really hot at the time. Fly Me to the Moon. That one Jason Mraz song, the only Jason Mraz song. I won't hesitate. No, that one.
Right.
What's it called? A Wonderful World.
Oh, like What a Wonderful World.
What a Wonderful
Yeah,
World.
okay.
Yeah.
What
It was
a
just like
Wonderful
So
World.
wait, were you playing an instrument?
yeah, I was
He was
playing
playing
a
the
guitar and
Oh my
ukulele. I
gosh.
had to learn. Can't Help Falling in Love.
Wait,
I
at
had
the
to
same
learn
time.
6 fucking songs. We only performed 2. What? I had no stake in this at all, but I had like the huge pressure.
Yeah.
Because if I screw up,
We're-
then I screw up her audition.
That's
I had
so
nothing
scary.
out of
That's not fair. Okay, so what if they were like, you're shit, but the guitar player,
Okay,
So
free
hard.
ride, scholarship.
Okay, you know what happened? After I finished, the guy, the professor of whatever musical theater, PhD in musical theater, he's just like, are you considering going to York? And I'm
It actually.
and then I just to fuck with him, I'm just like, no, I'm going to engineering.
No.
But yeah, because I was curious if you did the same thing.
No, I mean, like, well, so when we did the auditions, you had to do it in front of all the other students, and it was in this little room, and no one brought a player. I mean, like, I wonder if that was
Okay, yeah.
before. When we did it, you had to, they had this thing where they told you that, like, after you do your audition, they're gonna, like, play with you. Which sounds like really weird. And I
Welcome
remember
to
being
acting.
like, I know, yeah, they were like, be ready to play. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know what that means. But then when we got there, we found out, so like whatever your special talent was, they would then like ask you to improvise something with it while you were auditioning. And so I was lucky because I was like drawing, so they can't really like make me improvise a drawing. I think they just asked me any like concepts I have for future like performances or whatever stages and sets and stuff like that. But there was this one girl and her special talent was singing, and they made her like do an improvised song about like oranges. Like they like threw a word at her and they were like, now sing. And
That
she
is
was
so
like,
what? Oranges?
Yeah.
Really? You can't even rhyme?
or like it was some weird thing that was like really hard to like think of something for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely stressful for some people. I feel like I got off kind of easy because I picked the route that I was like pretty confident in.
It's in my
But yeah.
special talents like breathing or something. And I'd be like,
You know what? This
Good.
is the funny thing about like acting, musical theater is that like, you know, it can be such a serious thing, but like the auditions are always like they can just throw anything at you.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just
Yeah.
like I hear at like Saturday Night Live, if you want to audition, they ask you have to do one character, and you know, like I forgot who it was. I think it was Bill Hader. He auditioned for Saturday Night Live when he was younger, and they asked him like, okay, now do your character, and then he's like, fuck, I have no characters. So he just made up an accent on the spot, like he heard like a Italian guy,
PODCAD.
like on the way there,
Yeah.
and then that just became his character.
He heard
Yeah,
on the way
Vini Vedeci.
Yeah.
But it's crazy the type of stress they put you through.
Oh my
but it
God.
sounds.
Have you seen like any? Have you been to the theater to see some
Yes.
shows? Any one you want to put on the spotlight?
I feel like I haven't seen that many shows. I've seen like the big ones. Like I saw Wicked when I was younger. I saw Billy Elliot. Oh, I've seen Chicago. I have seen quite a few. And honestly, I don't know which one would be my favorite. Like I listen to a lot of the soundtracks, like musical soundtracks, and like Hairspray. I love Hairspray. It's so good.
It's a good movie.
So like I listen to those soundtracks a lot, but I don't know if there's like one particular that I've seen. I feel like I'm always blown away. At the end, I cry at the end of every theater performance. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that blew me away. I get emotional, but yeah, Chicago was pretty awesome. That was the last one I saw.
What acting roles did you have in high school? I'm curious.
I was the
The
queen of.
tree.
No, literally, I've
Yeah.
been there.
To work your way up. You know?
Yeah. I've been the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. Like
Cool.
it was a lot of screaming. My voice at the end of
Yeah.
that semester was like so bad. Yeah, I was the Queen of Hearts. I was also Tweedledum. So I was her and the other like little twin brother. We did like a lot of, we did a student written like show, and it was a spin-off of this like story. I think it's called like, I can't remember what it's called. It's like this weird story about you're in like purgatory, and I played like the devil. I don't even know how to describe
Hey,
it, but I
yo.
was like, I was
devil.
like evil. We did
Improv.
Shakespeare as well. Midsummer Night's Dream or
Yeah,
Midnight
that's a
Sunstroom.
lot of
Yeah.
productions.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I was in Frozen as well. I played the mom who dies. I wasn't Elsa. I was like Elsa's
You guys
mom.
got the rights to perform all of those?
Yeah. Well, two of those you don't like Alice in Wonderland and
copyright
Shakespeare.
Yeah. It's
You don't
public
have to.
domain. Yeah.
But the Frozen one, that one I did when I was like younger. I was like in middle school,
Okay,
and
yeah.
they have to buy the rights to the.
Yeah.
Guess what? We're coming out.
I know.
No, 'cause,
That's
okay.
crazy.
I remember when I was in high school,
Mm.
I used to like just like slick my hair all the way back,
Okay.
like just like a handful of pomade,
Gotcha.
and I'd have really slick, shiny hair.
Yeah.
And I
Where's
like
this going?
and okay, just wait. I like to play guitar,
Mm.
and I remember one time I was just like sitting like in the hallway playing guitar, and then like the fucking one of the musical teachers who like directs like the plays and stuff. He just like I saw him walk by in my peripheral, and then he like walks back in the hallway, looks at me, he comes to me, he's just like, Mark, I think. Have you considered being on stage? I'm just like, what do you mean? And he's just like, we're putting on a production of Grease. And then he's just like, and I'm just like, hey, I don't want to be fucking Danny Zuko. He's just like, no. We're looking for someone to be in the band during one of the dance scenes.
Christ.
And I'm just like, okay, what's the requirement? And it's just like, okay, we need you to sing and learn these songs. And it's just like, am I going to have a band? And it's just like, no, it's just going to be you up there. I'm just like, what? What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Again.
Like, no drums, no bass, no nothing. And I was so nervous for this. And I was praying every single day that, like, just get me out of this somehow. And then our school got the copyright strike for putting up for doing Grease. So
Are you serious?
they canceled Grease, and I'm just like, yes.
See, it's funny. When I was in grade 6, we did a production of Grease, and it was I was in like interimmersion French, so it was like half day French. And so the requirement for it was, since our music mark was in French, our teacher was like, okay, we'll do Grease, but we'll
In
do all the
French?
songs in French.
Oh, that's brutal.
So I had to learn not only the script in English, but then all the songs in French, and it was
And then in Greek.
it was brutal. It was a brutal production. I was one of the Scorpions. I lost my pink slip. That was unfortunate in the race, but it was a very interesting production, to say the least. Learning all this stuff in French and English.
Wow.
Yeah. How do you even sing the Grease song?
I was gonna say,
don't
because that'll
remember.
like change the way it sounds.
Yeah, it does. Especially when the first part's in English, and then it's like, okay, we only need 20 seconds in French for the mark. So it was crazy.
Olivia,
Wow.
you are in the 3rd year, like myself.
Yes.
Like many of us.
Yes.
And you had told me that you're preparing a little something for your thesis. It's in the works,
in the works.
It's here and there.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us, what you want to set yourself up for, stepping out of OCAD?
Yeah. So I'm hoping. Right now I'm taking a stop motion course where we're building puppets, like armatures, which is really exciting because I want to ideally do something in stop motion. So I'm hoping that taking this course will kind of set me up for thesis, because for my thesis project, I want to do a visual development portfolio. So, like designing characters, sets, props, everything that you would need for like a short film. And then I'm hoping once I'm done that, I can take one of the characters and actually like build a puppet for it and then do a little stop motion. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm not entirely sure like what the theme is going to be or which story, because I might pick like a already existing story, or I might make my own. I'm not entirely sure.
Steamboat Willie. Do Steamboat Willie.
Okay.
It's copyright
It's up
free
for
now.
grabs.
Yeah, it's up for grabs.
Winnie the
Domain
Pooh
free
also
domain.
without the T-shirt.
Without the T-shirt and the pants. Yeah.
That's good that you say the visual development of an animation
Yeah.
as opposed to an animation.
Yeah.
Because in illustration thesis, like I heard so many people just like, oh, I want to make a comic book. I want to make an animation, and then the profs are just like, no. So,
But you could get a lot farther, sort of like laying it out.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see.
yeah.
We actually have an illustrator thesis expert here.
Oh, okay.
And then a general thesis expert.
Oh my
too.
gosh.
But
Yes.
do you have any questions for our friend Mark here about thesis?
No, I'm not the one being interviewed.
Well, I mean, I do know, isn't thesis like for illustration, you have to make 10 pieces, right?
Yes, yeah, 8 to 10.
8
8 to 10.
But you have to make 10, but you can have a choice to exhibit for just 8.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering about that, because I feel like if I'm making a visual development portfolio, it's not necessarily 10 finished pieces. It's kind of more of like, I mean, it's visual development. So it's a lot
Yeah.
of sketches and like different characters and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to talk to one of the professors and see if they're cool with
Yeah.
that.
And in the first portion, like a lot of it is just like preparing your pitch. So I learned the hard way that you don't just show up with one idea for thesis.
Okay.
You have to have multiple
Oh,
ideas.
really?
So you have to have some backup.
Yeah.
That kind
It's
of sucks.
there's a possibility that they just
make
go
them
like,
versions
no.
of
Yeah, I was
what you
gonna
wanna
say.
do.
It's, I mean, for me, like I'm in cross thesis, so it's like interdisciplinary and stuff. And even in there, it's like almost everyone I know that came in with like an initial idea and stuff has either like pivoted 180 and is doing something else, or has like changed so much about it that you wouldn't even be able to tell that it was like their original concept.
Yeah.
And it solely has to do like, like the course is there to push you, right? Like, even if it's a great idea, like right now and stuff, that's not to say that with like the support of like faculty and stuff, you can do something that's like even bigger,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, it's to your benefit. It's a little frustrating though, but
Yeah.
you make it work.
I was even like thinking if if it doesn't work for thesis, my idea, like if I'm going to talk to a professor beforehand before I even like apply for it, just to make sure. I was even thinking of doing like an independent study.
Yeah, that was the second thing I was
Yeah.
going to suggest.
Because also can't remember, Peter Chan, I think his name is. He's a professor at OCAD, and he is the one who did my, I took a character design course last semester, and he's like really, really good. So I'm hoping that he will do that for me, Peter, please.
Have you made a puppet in your class?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're still
You're getting the
developing.
theory?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of theory. We're also doing, we're just like sketching it out. That's actually due next week. I have to have my design done. Yeah, I'm also a terrible decision maker. Like I go through ideas and I'm like, oh, I don't know which one's best. And so I'm working through them right now, but I've not made a puppet yet. I have made puppets in the past. They were pretty ugly. Like the first ones you make are usually kind of bad because there's so many little like pieces to
What
it.
is like the puppet making process? I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, well, because it has to be movable. So it's like, imagine if you're like making a doll, but like a doll that has to stand and walk on its own, basically.
Basically like joints.
Well, I've made
Yeah.
like a sculpture like on an armature.
Yeah, it's
So
like that.
the same thing.
It's
Oh.
the same thing, yeah. But there's also like a lot of considerations if you have to know what your puppet's gonna do before you make it.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you're gonna make a stop motion where the character's sitting in a chair the whole time, it's like you shouldn't even bother with the legs because it's so much work to like get all those details and make it movable. Yeah, so there's just a lot of considerations when you're making a puppet. But yeah.
I'm going to make
Interesting.
Iceman. Top Gun.
Oh yeah,
You're gonna number 2.
you'll rebuild him.
When he's only.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, how does theater and acting, how does that inform your practice as an animator?
Yeah, I think it is actually very like it has a big impact on it. Like even when I'm animating, I'm like making the faces of like whatever the character's doing. I think it helps because for animation you have to be super exaggerated,
Yes.
especially I mean like in all animation, 2D, but also stop motion as well. Because I think it's not easy, but it's often that you make the mistake where like your character's like very like kind of robotic and it's
stiff.
Yeah,
And
stiff.
just like, yeah.
So it's like important to remember to like make everything like way more dramatic. And so a lot of the time you actually have to film yourself doing the action. And that's definitely useful because I feel like I can be very dramatic and kind of like do all the crazy things that you have to do for your puppet. So yeah, that definitely helps. And I think I kind of almost like project myself into the puppet when I'm animating. So I think having an acting background is useful.
Do you ever do like you ever film yourself moving in the way you want your puppet to, or like?
Oh yeah.
Do you
Actually,
have, like, the lock storage of all the.
yeah. Oh my god. Actually, last year, I was working on a portfolio. I was trying to get an internship at a studio, and you need like a walk cycle of a puppet like walking. And walk cycles are really difficult. Like even though it seems like it's a pretty basic thing, it's like one of the most difficult things you can do as an animator. Because like the character, it can't just be walking. It also has to have like personality.
Yeah.
So when I was at OCAD, I was like filming myself in the hallway, like doing these like crazy like walks and like all these different things. And every time somebody would walk by, I think they were like, "What is she doing? Like what's going on?" Yeah.
Those videos are so interesting to see like before the fact.
It's like all like the behind the scenes stuff. Like you know too that like all these like animation houses and stuff have like hard drives with like gigabytes of just like the footage of random movements and stuff.
Yeah.
What is like with your, obviously you have like a very like span practice and stuff. Do you prefer doing animation over say like a static drawing or?
I don't know. I think it depends on, because I mean they're just so different. Like doing an animation is a way bigger commitment, and you have to know before. You have to do a lot of planning. But I feel like when I do animation, it's more satisfying because it takes so long, and then you're finished, and when it looks good, it's like, oh yeah, like I did that. And it's also really cool because you're literally bringing something to life.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
you're like, sorry, that distracted me.
Nothing.
Okay. It's okay. Yeah, no, you're like bringing something to life. And so it's really cool to see that you've been moving like a doll or even like an object, and then it's doing its own little thing, which is really, really satisfying to see. Drawing, I feel like, is more something that I just feel like I have to do. Like, it's kind of just like when
Yeah,
I'm bored, I'm like,
okay.
I'm just going to draw. Like, or when I have free time, I'll just draw. It just feels like it's kind of like a part of me. But yes, I don't know if there's one I prefer over the other, but I think satisfaction wise, I feel more satisfied after I do an animation.
Sure. So you feel like, because for me, like, I am not an illustrator by any means. Like,
Okay.
you can ask them. I can't fucking draw. I can't draw. Like, it's impossible for me. So when people around me can draw, I'm like, holy shit. And then when they can like animate that drawing, I'm like,
Animation's a whole
like
another
what
level.
the
Yeah.
like, you know, it's crazy to me. And so I have a lot of respect for people that can, you know, sit there and do like a stop motion with drawing and like that's it. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like, frame by frame is
Yeah.
insane. I'll
Yeah.
never understand like the dedication and commitment it takes to, you know, be there and do that many drawings that are like so similar but different enough that it like becomes an animation. You know,
Yeah.
Have you taken a media studio hybrid?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, because there's like a part. There's like an assignment where you have to animate. I bet you'd kill at that.
Thanks, guys. I was gonna say, actually, like, drawing animation, I've done those quite a few times, but they're really short, like
Yeah.
usually like 5 seconds, because that, I would say, in some ways is even more time consuming than doing a stop motion, because stop motion, you have like an actual puppet and you
Yeah.
can move it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing a drawing, you have to like redraw the whole thing again.
I did one that I think was like 5 seconds, and I think it was like 50 frames, and I just wanted to jump out of
Yeah.
a window on the
OCAD
6th
window.
floor.
It's
It
so
was
frustrating. And you have to be,
Seventh floor.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be like so talented too in drawing, and like I'm confident in my skills, but animators are like, they can just draw a person not even thinking about it. They don't need a reference. It's like they can just do that.
The worst part is when you finish the 50 drawings and then you scan them and then you play it and then the lines are just like wobbling
Yeah.
all over. It's just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I haven't really attempted to do 2D animation like analog. I only ever do it digitally, because if you do it digitally, you can go back and easily like
Yeah.
change that. Analog, that would be horrible. Like, that would be so stressful. You'd have to do a lot of planning for
can
that.
use like transfer paper. I know,
Yeah.
like, my friend, he's in experimental animation, and his like trick is that like, every line drawing he does his whole background setup first, and then he'll literally like trace that with like contact paper so that it has the blue outlines, and then it's just like the small little adjustments after. But it still is like, you know, this meticulous, time consuming thing of having to do the same background 50 times, right?
See,
Yeah.
the reason why like people, you know, in the mid-century, like in the Disney studios and
Yeah.
stuff, why they were able to bang out so many beautiful animations like analog was because they were allowed to smoke cigarettes indoors in their studio. Just
I mean,
chain smoke.
That's probably part of it, to be honest.
Like just like pour like a whiskey sour and.
But it's like for me, it's hilarious because if you think about it, at like
That'd get Mark working real fast.
at OCAD though, you got to think about it too. That at like one point there was people just like in the studios there, just like
Yeah.
smoking a Bogart, like, you know, stressed. They're like, oh, crap, shit, just smoking right in the hallway. Like there's a picture of like the old like staff lounge, and they're just all sitting in there. It's like all the staff just smoking cigarettes.
Could you believe the group of 7 were smoking at OCA?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Now you're forced to go outside.
Damn. Oh no.
Man.
I gotta ruin my lungs outside.
There's something that you mentioned about your work is that you focus more on visual impact than meaning. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think like when I'm saying that, I'm talking about like gestural. I really like gestural work and work that has kind of imperfections in
Yeah.
it. I feel like, especially in ink drawings, I really, really like ink drawings. There's this one artist, her name's Claire Keane. She's actually the daughter of an animator at Disney. His name's Glenn Keane. He's also very talented. Anyway, her work is really awesome. And she has like super just sort of gestural little sketches. She does a lot of her daughter. And they're just really simple. It's like a couple lines, and they're kind of like, you could call them messy, but the impact, like the visual impact it has, is so profound. And it's almost like there's like life to her drawings, even though there's not that much there. And she just uses really like simple washes of watercolor. And yeah, I think it doesn't always have to have this like super intense meaning. If it can have sort of like an emotional impact just like visually, whether it's through color or line work or whatever brush work. I really like little imperfections, because I feel like that is what shows that like a person made this. Like I think when things are too like slicked back and like it kind of too designed, I feel like it kind of loses that sense of like a person was here and a person put their emotion into this.
See, that's like me when it comes to like printmaking, right? Like that's why for me, as like my major in graphic design, it's like you can either choose to print it out digitally and you know that it's going to be perfect, or you can like, physically embrace the fact that like each layer is pulled by hand, right? But then my prof looks at it and he goes, oh no, this is just not registered. So I mean, I don't know, like I guess it's about finding that like balance, that fine line, right? Between like, like this is just like messy and it's purposefully messy, or this is just like I don't give a shit about the project,
Totally. And also, I mean, when I say like messy and gestural, it's also, there's a ton of talent that goes into making something look gestural and messy, but really it was like a lot of effort went into it. But it's kind of that look of effortlessness that I think can sometimes bring a drawing to life.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you tend to lean towards the whimsical and the fantasy.
Yeah.
Is that because it's just like well suited towards animation to just like go into the whimsy side, because everything's a bit more exaggerated, a bit more playful, a bit more imaginative?
Yeah. I think for animation, I get excited. I mean, I guess for illustration as well, but I'm just thinking about my project that I'm working on right now. Doing sort of like a whimsical character that wouldn't really exist in real life is kind of exciting because it wouldn't exist in real life. Like if you're doing a film, you can't really like, I mean, I guess you can now, but turn a person into like some weird warlock witch or something very easily. And so when you're making like a puppet, you can just do whatever you want, and it doesn't have to really like follow the laws of physics and stuff like that. So it's very exciting doing that sort of thing. But kind of like the whimsical vibe, I mean, I just feel like that's something that I was so drawn to growing up. I mean, when you're a kid, you love that. I mean, at least I did love that kind of stuff. I just like the whole aesthetic about like whimsical things like that.
Is there any like, animations or like anything that you watched as a, growing up that kind of like inspired you, or like, made you think like, this is something that I'd like to do? Yeah,
totally. I think that Nick Park, and he did Wallace and Gromit. All of his work is awesome. I mean, that was I think what inspired me to want to start doing stop motion. But then in terms of the sort of like fantasy vibe, like Jim Henson, he created the Muppets, and also I don't know if you guys know the Dark Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love the Dark Crystal. And I remember seeing that as a kid. I mean, it terrified me as a kid. It was so scary. Terrifying. Like, it's literally so scary.
Like, this is the Muppets guy.
Yeah, no, literally, exactly. But I think, like, that's why I think it's so cool, because it's, like, they're puppets, but they're totally terrifying, and they can show so much emotion. Yeah. And there's this huge, like, beautiful world of, like, weird, creepy creatures, and you kind of don't even notice that they're puppets anymore. Like, I feel like if you were to tell someone there's this movie and they're, like, literal puppets, you'd be like, it's kind of weird. But no, it's like really profound and like quite sophisticated, and I really like his work. He's really cool.
I noticed that you've done like claymation too on your Instagram. You had like it was like a pink face.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like, how do you go about like, going from like concept to like starting to like, create to like animate? Like, what is your like process or like thought process when it comes to?
For animation, it depends on like the type of animation you're doing. If you're doing like straight ahead filming, which is when you have a puppet and you're like, it's kind of, as it says, like straight ahead. Yeah. You have to do a lot of planning, because that means you have to build a puppet, you have to build a set, everything like that. So I think it's a lot more time consuming. And in terms of that, I haven't really done an animation like that yet. I did that little claymation. It actually wasn't claymation. It was like a hard puppet. So the mouths were changeable.
Oh, what the heck?
So they were like baked. I had to like make everything in my oven and bake it. So it was hard.
Easy bake oven.
Easy bake oven, exactly. And so that was actually just like a facial test. I was just trying to show that I can do like mouth movements. Again, I was applying for this internship and I was just trying to show that I can like do lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And so for that one, the planning for that, it was just the mouth, it was just the face moving, and that took so much planning because you have to figure out what the puppet's going to say, and then you have to make all of the mouth movements and shapes to make sure that you can match it up. So yeah, it's very time consuming when you're doing something like that. But if you're doing an animation that's top down, which means like you're filming like a table, you
And
can
it's
be
like flat, right?
It's
Like
flat,
on the
yeah.
table, yeah.
I mean, again, it depends on what you're doing. But for me, like I've done simpler things in terms of top down, and yeah, you can kind of be a little bit more experimental with it because you don't have to worry about things like falling over and having a whole set. Like even one of the pieces that you were going to show later, it's I did top down, and it's like you just kind of set up the background, and it's almost like a drawing kind of, because it's like you just set it up and there it is, and then you can start moving things on top, and you can kind of be more free with it and just see where you want the object to go. And that's another thing, a difference between stop motion and 2D animation is that when you're doing 2D, you usually do keyframes, like where you're planning out like the character's going to be here first, then they're going to jump, and then they're going to be here. And you'll do a drawing of the first position, the second, and then the third. But with stop motion, you can't like block that in beforehand because you can't really put the puppet back. Once you start animating,
Yeah,
like you just
that's
got to
it,
go
yeah.
for it.
Look for that onion skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're doing puppet animation, you have to make sure that you're just going for it. And sometimes it'll go wrong. Like maybe your puppet will go a little bit too much to the left, and you just gotta go with it and figure it out.
I guess my character is moving to the left.
Exactly.
Story's happening to the left.
Exactly.
Why don't we take a look at some of your work
Okay.
that we have here for us to indulge? A sketch?
A sketch. Yes.
What would you name this piece?
Woman and bird. No, I don't have a name for this one. This was something I did in my sketchbook. I added this because I find that like my work sometimes that's just in my sketchbook and I'm kind of just like mindlessly doing it. Sometimes ends up being some of my favorite stuff. Especially when I'm sort of having like art block, or if I'm not really liking what I'm doing, I'll just go to my sketchbook and I'll start drawing something that I know I'm good at. And I feel like that is kind of when I get inspired, and then from there I feel like I can keep going. So this was one of those times. I'm really enjoying drawing birds right now, and I also like doing side profiles, so both of them.
Is the reference Taylor Swift?
It is. It is Taylor
It's
Swift.
a good likeness.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Do you usually do like detailed drawings like this, like beautiful spreads in your sketchbook?
So this one was actually, I was going through my sketchbook. I'd finished the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was looking back and I was like, there's so many ugly pages in here that I don't like. And I wanted my sketchbook to feel like kind of really done and complete. So I went back and found the pages I didn't like, and then I started just sort of collaging
Cool.
to make it look nicer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do do a lot of sort of spreads like this when I'm looking back on pages and I'm like, this one's ugly, and I'll go ahead and kind of try to make it sort of chaotic and collagey.
I've never finished a sketch.
Me neither.
Yeah, I still haven't done that either, but I'm trying.
Like fully, every page to page?
No, because it's like when I was in my first year at OCAD, like first thing I did was I got a sketchbook, and then like I don't know, it was hard to break out of that mindset that every page needs to be pretty. And then like after a while, it's just like I'm spending too long trying to figure out what to draw in my sketchbook. When I could have been sketching,
See,
So
Exactly, yeah.
Stop doing that.
I have the opposite problem. Like I use my sketchbooks more for like planning, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like little thumbnail drawings and stuff, and then it's all writing and stuff. And I'll get like partway through a sketchbook and be like, I'm fucking done with these ideas, and then just have to get a new one. But it leads to me having like a stack like this big of just like half finished books. And I mean, it's funny looking back on them because sometimes you're like, oh, that was a good idea, and then sometimes you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? This is crazy.
Yeah, I try to put no pressure when I'm just doing sketchbook stuff. Like sometimes I just take notes for class, and those are the pages that I like to go back on later and then turn it into something. But yeah, no, because I used to do that as well, where I would try to make my sketchbook like really nice every single page, and then you just lose motivation, and you're like, oh, this is like a issue now. Yeah. So.
Or you make a one that's way too nice.
Yeah.
And then the next ones just don't feel up to par.
And also I get stressed about it. I'm like, I can't go on the page after it because it's going to like ruin that drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I think like the thing for me that definitely broke me out of that mindset too was I saw this exhibit in it's in Belgium at like the Moodum, which is like their modern art equivalent and stuff. And it was this guy, and it was like 2 decades worth of his sketchbooks and stuff just on random pages, and some of them was literally just like his grocery list, and then beside it would just be like, fuck this, I don't want to draw today and stuff. And I was just like, I mean, like when you look at like that's what it is, right? It's just like an idea collection, and like once you break out of like the like thought process of being like, oh, it has to be this finished work and stuff, just have a lot more fun. It's just like more freeing.
Totally.
So this piece over here is how we discovered your lovely work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more? I feel like there might be a little more meaning than just what you're saying. So maybe you can tell us.
Yeah. So this piece is the mural I did at OCAD. It was inspired by a work I did in illustration class, in my core illustration class. Last semester, it was actually the prompt was to make a mural. And I was like, well, I can use this for the mural in OCAD. But we were basically assigned, everybody was assigned a neighborhood, and then you had to do a mural based on the neighborhood. And so I was given Kensington Market, and I love Kensington Market. I live nearby there. Yeah, I've been going there like my whole life. So I was really excited for that. And the first, like when I was kind of just brainstorming, the first thing I thought of was like the pigeons there. And how like it's like very chaotic there, and there's so many different cultures and people there, and there's also pigeons. And I just think it's funny how like when you're getting food, there'll just be a pigeon beside you. It's kind of like that in Toronto in general, but I really wanted to do something with like birds because I was just noticing that they're really intertwined with you in the neighborhood. So that's kind of how the concept came about. And then I mean the illustration it's different than this, but yeah, it's like long, and anyway, it's a different format than the mural is. But my goal for that was to make the background sort of look like kind of like watercolor and like ink, and to sort of have like all these layers happening. And so I did that in marker and watercolor on like watercolor paper. And so then when I was taking it to the wall to do a mural, it was a bit of a challenge because like I didn't know how I was going to replicate that. So when I was building this up, it was a lot of experimenting. Like I just started by painting the whole background yellow. And then I mixed like 3 main colors like red, green, and orange. And I would sort of make like washi paint, like pretty watered down. And I was just like lathering it on, and then I would get a paper towel and like wipe it off. And then it kind of like created this sort of like texture that I really liked. Yeah, so it was a lot of like building up textures because I really wanted to have that like chaotic feel of like the neighborhood.
I wanted to ask, is like every single mural just put on top of each other at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so someone needs to do the examine where they go through each layer. I mean, I'm sure there's photos of.
Just take a chisel and
chisel. Break it down.
pull the layers out.
And
That's
you
when
can-
Lakin does.
Did
it
you
on
feel
your-
bad like going over?
I did feel bad also because like
Did you have to paint it over?
I did have to paint it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
like, why would they make you do that?
Exactly.
And then
that's what I'm saying.
a personal vendetta.
I
has
love
been
that.
started.
That's great.
No, and the thing is like they don't like give you, not that like this would do much, but I thought maybe they'd give me like a little pass that was like Olivia is permitted to paint here. But like no, you just go and you just start painting over it, and I
Doing
felt
it really quick.
I felt so bad because I knew that like somebody was gonna watch and be like vandalism.
It's just
what's
like out of their
happening?
corners, like, my name is John Canyonia.
Yeah.
What would you do? Why did you paint over the mural?
Yeah, so I had to paint it over, and it actually made it more difficult because the wall has a very different texture now, like from so many layers of paint.
Yeah.
Maybe it
they
added
should
to,
sand it,
to where
No,
you were
that's-
trying to get to.
That's
'cause
what makes
there's
it like
a lot of
authentic.
nice
mean-
textures.
I think it's a question of like, for me, and this might be my like personal view on murals and stuff, but I view them as like a living piece of art. Like it's has the ability to change over time and stuff. Like especially like you gotta picture this if this was in like Kensington Market, for example, like
Yeah.
what's
murals
stopping,
there
you know,
are
someone
rotting.
from like, you know,
Yeah.
painting over it, right?
It-
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it lives and it dies.
Exactly.
Unless it's Banksy for some.
it gets
Then
cut
it
off the
lives.
wall. Yeah, it
Yeah.
lives
It
and
lives
it lives in a
forever.
gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually like exactly what my thought process was though for this is that I wanted it to look like a mural that had kind
Yeah.
of been like painted over a ton of times and
Yeah.
maybe there's you
Yeah.
know like you know when people like paste
Yeah.
posters on
Like
top like I
wood
wanted it to
paste,
look
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
have that sort of chaotic feeling.
It does feel like like a chunk taken out of the yellow stairwell.
For real.
You know? Like
Yeah.
yellow is a
Yeah.
great choice,
Yeah.
especially like all the layers that you put. How long will this survive for?
I don't know. I mean, it could come down at any point. There's somebody's commissioned every semester, so
Okay.
whenever they decide that they want to start working on it, I started working on mine like very late in the semester, so the one before was up for like a long time, actually the whole summer.
It's only one semester. They
yeah.
start switching it up. Damn.
Yeah, I know it's kind of sad. I worked so hard on
You
this,
just,
and now
like,
it's gonna be
take
gone.
you, like cut out the wall. You know,
I know,
give yourself the
honestly.
Banksy treatment.
This is crazy. You know, this is pretty bare bones, but like to me, I see the like culture and history of like of
Kensington.
anyone. Or I couldn't pull Kensington when I first saw it.
I pulled
but,
Parkdale.
what?
I think I've
But
seen the woman before.
you know, and her looking onwards, and the dove of hope and new beginnings, and that's what I sort of pulled from it. But I really do like this mural, and the sketchy feel to the figure, and the textures make it real nice.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, because they're kind of translucent, I was thinking it's
Yeah.
kind of like the spirit of Kensington. You
Yeah.
know?
I also like once I adapted it to be on the wall, I also was kind of trying to like get the spirit of OCAD as well a little bit. So yeah.
Spirit of OCAD.
Reminds me of the coding room, the red emulsion.
Oh
all
yes,
stuff.
yeah.
The Dexter room.
The Dexter room, yeah.
Yeah. So here we have a
It's a digital work.
Oh,
digital work, yes.
I'm actually realizing this is the wrong version. There's supposed to be a
Oh.
cat in there.
A cat.
We'll add the cat post.
Okay, we'll add the cat. Okay.
So, put the one with the cat.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Where's the cat
The
supposed
cat,
to be? Yeah.
the cat's actually a really big part. Because I knew we were going to show this, and I had something to say about the cat. The
go
cat's
ahead.
supposed to be in the shadow
Okay.
of beside her. There's like a little glowing cat. This was for it was for my concepts class or character design class, and we had to redesign a scene from Alice Asylum. It's like Alice in Wonderland, but it's a video game, and it's like this really creepy asylum game where she kind of goes crazy.
Leon. This is Resident Evil.
Look at Elmer right now. He's so
Elmer's like, nah, man,
this is
nah.
too much.
Put that on the soundboard.
So, Alice Asylum.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we had to redesign the world that she's in, and oh yeah, this is sorry. I'm like totally getting distracted. This is not the right version. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's pretty close. But I wanted to do sort of a more like sort of more peaceful scene. I was imagining that this would be one of those like I don't know if you'd call it like an intermission. You know, when you're like playing a video game, you like just defeated the dragon, and then you have like a little
Oh, like
point.
a little cut scene.
Yeah, a little like cut scene, and it's kind of like chill for a second. That's what I was imagining here, because there's this whole world in the game where she can like go into this like magical forest, and then like the deeper you get, there's like lava and like death and stuff. But I was imagining that on the edge of the forest, it's kind of like hopeful for a second. So that was this piece, but this was really exciting for me to make because I want to, like I said, I want to go into visual development, and I haven't really had that many opportunities in like my core illustration classes to do that type of work. I feel like a lot of the stuff we do in core class is kind of more like editorial. It feels kind of like.
Yeah. But I always thought like concept work like this was like a really big part of the illustration world.
Yeah. I mean, it can be. It depends on what you're going into.
Nah.
Yeah.
Not
Mark's
in the-
going
not in
into
the- not in the-
editorial work.
No, not in the core classes.
No, definitely not
But
in
like
the core
in
classes.
like the actual like.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that was my thought. I was like, I thought we would do this a little more, but Anyway, but this was really fun for me to make because I got to really explore that. And I was happy with how it turned out. This is the unfinished version, but
we shall show the
finished one.
Finished one. So
Yeah.
we do have some animations here we'd like to play.
Okay.
Please, everyone, save your applause for the end.
Don't forget the volume.
Oh yeah, true.
So many steps.
Beginning, yeah. Okay, let's watch.
And you don't get to stop saying that. Why would you say that? Stop. Don't look at me like that. Stop saying that. Why?
Oh,
Nice.
made me sleepy. Very
Yeah.
calming.
Let's do.
Let's
we'll
talk about
Okay.
the first one, yeah.
Yeah. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that was a piece I did for my stop motion class in second year. And the prompt was to make a piece about your healing rituals during COVID, and just like talk about your experience in COVID and kind of how you overcame the anxieties that came with it. So for this piece, I kind of was just thinking about how during isolation, at least, like you're kind of in your head a lot and you're alone. And it can be really stressful just like in your own head. And so that's what that kind of intro scene is. And then something that I did during COVID was sometimes when I was stressed, because, you're also looking at your phone a lot. Like I was doom scrolling all the time and there's just like so much stimulation, which just stressed me out more. Something that kind of made me chill out a bit was to just light a candle and just look at the candle. Like not even necessarily like a scented one, but like I have this it's like a very like old man sort of like creepy little candle holder.
Like a Scrooge.
Yeah, like a Scrooge thing. I had one of those in my room and I would sometimes just light it and I would just like look at the flame.
Doing this for eons.
Yeah.
Look at fire.
Exactly. Yeah, I was really going back to my roots.
That was the original doom scroll.
Come on.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this was submitted to a show.
Yeah, so this was the chair of animation at OCAD. His name's Philippe. He asked me to be in this sort of event that goes on. It's called the Night of Ideas. And so they get a whole bunch of different animators and artists. And I think it's like 3 nights out of the year. And every year there's a different theme. And this year, or the year that I did it, was the theme was like about nature and like using natural like resources. And so I was picked for this because the piece is like made out of sand, and it was sand and leaves and things I just like found around the park.
Right.
So yeah, that was really exciting though. It was really cool to be featured in that. A couple of my other friends in my class got picked as well. It was a really exciting piece to be a part of. Also because this was one of my first animations that I like really spent a really long time on. This took forever because it's a sand.
Sand.
It's sand, yeah.
I saw the behind the scenes on your Instagram and it was crazy. It looked so meticulous, like moving like the individual parts. And I was like, nope.
Which you guys should check out at Olivia Art Attacks.
Olivia's Art Attack.
Oh, with an S.
I was going to ask, I know you play guitar. Did you score that yourself?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually, because I couldn't use the studio, because we have like a studio at OCAD, so you can like record things. I was kind of on a time crunch, and so I was sitting in my closet, like, which is like full of dresses and things. Literally, that's what I was doing. I was like,
It sounds good. It
Yeah,
has
it
an atmospheric vibe to it.
Yeah, and I was happy with how it turned out. But anyway, it was a sand animation, which is like, it's kind of like combining 2D animation with stop motion because you have to reset the frame every single time. Basically, it's like you have a little light table and then you cover it in sand, and it has to be very even or else like you get little pockets of light. And then it's kind of like just finger painting, like you're literally just drawing in the face. Although I couldn't really use my fingers because it's like too thick, so I had like these little brushes and things. But yeah, it took forever because you have to reset the frame, and then you don't really have a reference of what you did before other than the picture you took. Like when you're doing 2D animation, you can kind of like flip through the pages, but you literally just wipe it away because it's sand. So it took a really long time. But that's kind of what made it more exciting. Like once I was finished, is because it took so long, and then like being featured in that show was really exciting for me. So
Let's see the next one.
Yes. I think this is the last one of the show. Who am I? Question mark. Nice.
yeah.
That was a very fun one.
Yeah, I really like the
Thanks.
sound.
Thank you. Yeah, doing the sound was really fun for that.
So you did all the Foley for it and stuff too? Like the sound effects?
Yeah, the sound
That's
effects.
crazy.
Actually, some of them, a lot of them I actually got online. Now that I think of it, there's a like whole database just full of sound effects, like copyright free ones.
Like woo 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 woo.
Exactly.
And all the other fan favorites.
Yeah.
Make sure to add that to the soundboard too, Omar.
Add that one to the soundboard. Well, we do like to end the show with one special part of the show.
We noticed from that animation, you have quite a collection of CDs. And I figured anybody who's into animation likes the gorillas. So, we got
Is this
you
for me?
again.
Yes.
This is
You're
yours.
joking. Oh
I'm
my
serious.
gosh, I do like the gorillas.
Okay.
Oh, this
good.
is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
No problem.
Oh.
Well, thank you for coming on
thank
the
you
show.
so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. This was really fun.
Is there anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
Maybe my
our
Instagram.
Billions of listeners.
Olivia's Art Attack on Instagram. I would say that's what I'm gonna plug. Plug.
Add that one to the sound.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for
And
having me.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us here for our season opener. It's been a wonderful one. So we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.